Hey folks, I'm Chris and I'm your Commander Mechanic. Before we get into today's video, I want to let everybody know that I'll be streaming over on Twitch from time to time, doing more live tune-ups like the one linked up top for Oaken and Zindersplit. Be sure to follow me at twitch.tv/commandermechanic and keep an eye on my socials to know when I'll be going live. 2021 was a hell of a year for Magic. We saw 7 full sets, 15 Commander Precons, and close to 40 Secret Layers this year. That's a lot of new stuff. Inside all of those new releases, we got a ton of goodies for Commander, from new staples in the 99 through to new Commanders and toys for decks of all power levels. So I wanted to celebrate some of the good during the year that was both bad and ugly with what I'm calling the first annual Golden Nut Awards. I'll take a look at each color for Commanders and in the 99, and colorless cards too. Which card is getting the coveted Card of the Year award? Stay tuned to find out. Keep in mind these picks are all my picks, so don't be surprised if you see some clear favorites of mine as winners. White got a lot of love this year with some really stellar pieces for decks. We're seeing the pendulum swing back towards new staples being printed for the format's least loved color, but not for long. We got cards like Monologue Tax this year, helping to contribute to White's mana catch-up mechanics and enabling the color's renewed love for artifacts. In this same vein, we got Archaeomancer's Map, a land catch-up mechanic that fills our hand with basics on top of being an artifact for those aforementioned synergies that are popping back up. And we even got new redundant pieces like Teleportation Circle that enable White's strong flicker effects and are right at home in multiple existing deck archetypes. But the Golden Nut goes to Esper Sentinel. It couldn't go to anything else this year, as this white 1-drop is an artifact and a human, two very important things, and is card draw on a body. This is exactly the power level of cards we want from Wizards, and I am happy to see it get the love and ubiquity it deserves as a staple of the format. We got a whack of new mono-white commanders this year, like Oswald Fiddlebender, who's even seeing play at the higher end of the power level spectrum in our format as a tutor on a stick. Or Halvar, God of Battle, who can be an equipment in the command zone for a great take on mono-white Voltron for a very strong attacker or equipment out of the gate. And hell, we even got a very valuable reprint of the original Thalia Guardian of Thraben at the tail end of the year in Crimson Vow. Another great option that sees play in hardcore stacks decks, whether you love them or hate them. But the Golden Nut goes to Adeline Resplendent Cathar, perhaps the best and strongest mono-white commander we've seen in a while. Adeline doesn't do anything new. She makes tokens and attacks, but she does it better than any other commander we've ever had that makes tokens and attacks. Perfect for our format. Blue got some great new goodies this year too, with Strixhaven in particular being very kind to the color. Who knew a whole mechanic centered around casting and copying spells would favor blue? The set gave us Archmage Emeritus, an absolutely bonkers draw engine in any Spellslinger deck, and a way to turn copying spells into massive card advantage. We recently got Washaway, a 1-mana counter-target commander card that can be cleaved to counter any spell. That's definitely a must-have in higher power games in this format. We also got the blue equipment Winged Boots this year. A great way to give a creature flying and protect them with a very hefty Ward 4 for the same cast and equip cost as Swiftfoot Boots. But the Golden Nut goes to Solve the Equation. This 3-mana tutor for an instant or sorcery is the closest we'll get to another demonic tutor, and the best tutor we've seen ever printed in recent years. This is more relevant in our format than any others, and getting an instant or sorcery is incredible utility. The fact that it was reprinted at uncommon rather than rare is incredible, a miracle, and everyone needs one in their collection. Blue got some interesting commanders this year that went outside some of their typical wheelhouses or even leaned into them even further in ways that we've never seen before. We got Jacob Hawken Inspector, which flips into Hawken's Insight, a great enchantment that enables us to cast free spells from exile. And free spells are never broken, right? We got Octavia Living Thesis, which turns every spell cast into an 8-power pump for our creatures, while discounting her own mana cost. Blue Stompy? We can do that! And we got Min Wily Illusionist, a token generator that makes bigger and bigger illusion tokens when we draw cards, and allows us to cheat mana costs when those illusions die. But the golden nut goes to, and can only go to, my friend Orvar the Allform. I may be biased, but Orvar Storm was one of the most fun decks I've built all year, and even making goofier, lower power decks like Orvar's Mechanized Production made me fall in love with Mono Blue again. Great design, great commander. Black didn't have quite spectacular a year as it has in the past. Being generically good has a downside in that your value floors are always pretty medium and nothing is too spectacular. For instance, Dowly Voidwalker was really hyped up leading up to release, but very quickly fell by the wayside. While it sees some play, it's not as generically powerful as many predicted. Baleful Mastery was an underrated pick many assumed was bad, but exiling at instant speed for just 2 mana at the cost of giving an opponent a card is a fair trade-off if the removed creature or planeswalker would end the game. And we can't forget about Profane Tutor, another tutor in black many pounced on when it was revealed, not realizing that the suspend is a much heftier, more unpredictable drawback than many thought. Demonic Tutor, this is not. But the golden nut goes to the unassuming Infernal Grasp. The drawback of the card, a measly 3 life, is nothing to our 40 life format, and this is one of our new standards of single target creature removal in our format, a must-have and a staple for all decks. Black saw some controversial commanders printed in 2021. Some good and some reviled, many focusing on removing resources from players and creating situations where some people can't play the game. Like the much-hated Turgrid, God of Fright. The scourge of many casual tables, this commander had been known to wreck many unsuspecting players if not answered right away. On a similar note, Gisa, Glorious Resurrector, is known for stealing everyone's creatures and encouraging decks packed full of removal effects in order to facilitate this further. On a similar note, but for discard, we got Turok Dread Cantor, focusing on getting bigger and bigger for stripping resources from your opponent's hands. But the golden nut goes to Thane the Broker. This unassuming legend has barely 100 decks on EDHREC, but is amazing, a versatile utility in the command zone. Functioning similar to Trading Post, Thane plays with themes like +1/+1 counters, treasure tokens, and is a great outlet for infinite mana. My kind of commander. Compared to some of the other colors, this year Red didn't quite see the resurgence of powerful cards it's seen in the past. I think we're in a cooling period for Red right now, but that doesn't mean Red didn't get any goodies. You wouldn't be at fault for not remembering that Goldspan Dragon was printed this year, an efficient body that makes your treasures twice as valuable. Along the same lines was Zorn, doubling treasure generation and solidly making the generation of tokens a hallmark for the color Red. And in my opinion, Birgi, God of Storytelling, is one of the best in the 99 legends we've ever seen. A better fit inside a lot of decks than helming her own for the potential to enable Stormwinds. But the golden nut goes to Stormkiln Artist. Along the same lines as Birgi, Stormkiln Artist is the best of the best for Red this year. It makes treasures, synergizing with other great red spells we got this year, and allows us to go crazy with Storm in a lot of builds. Never underestimate free mana. Now for commanders, Red got a lot of love, a few that I'm really fond of personally. I've made my love for Rionia Fire Dancer well known. Half creatures, half spells, making all the copies. She's a commander to love and really strong to boot. And Lelia, the Broken Blade, leaning into Red's impulsive draw mechanics to make a big, fast, stompy attacker that thrives on oodles of card advantage no matter how temporary. Let's not forget that Ragavan, Nimble Pilferer, was printed in 2021. The Golden Monkey here may be price prohibitive for many, but a one-drop commander that makes mana and generates card advantage is still really good. But the Golden Nut goes to Magda Brazen Outlaw. Magda is deceptively powerful and has been seen in the hands of many brewers over the past year. From tribal dwarf strategies to combo strategies to heavy synergy strategies involving a card we may take a look at later, Magda is certainly brazen. Brazenly good. Green has always just been generically good, getting a smattering of everything in its color identity, and 2021 saw more of the same. A kind of toolbox of cards that just do a lot of things. Like Toski, Bearer of Secrets. Sure, a legendary creature, but one that turns all of your creatures into draw engines and is indestructible and uncounterable too. Consistent. Or a strong planeswalker like Renin 7, instantly slotting into many Lands Matter decks the moment it was revealed, especially with the ability to create a massive beater, put lands into play for free, or return all permanents from your yard to your hand. Very universally good. And let's not forget Essica's Chariot, a token generator with the ability to continue to make copies of tokens. I love making copies, but even if I didn't, this would be a contender for top card of the year. But the Golden Nut goes to Fractal Harness. Green saw several amazing color artifacts printed this year, but none quite as perfect for +1/+1 counter synergies as the Harness here. Many players can't afford the pricier counter doublers in the format, but the Harness is just $1 and slots perfectly into Green's many +1/+1 synergy leaning decks. Green had some really interesting commanders released this year that are doing things the color has never done before, or at least never done on a commander. Finn the Fangbearer, for instance, puts green poison counters in the command zone and encourages a Death Touch based build for maximum effect. Ruxa, Patient Professor, is finally the vanilla creature commander so many people have been asking for, perfect for tokens and plain creatures as a draw engine and anthem. And Green got a few storm-based commanders like Ave Progenitor Ooze, enabling new vectors in gameplay, lines the color has never had the opportunity to play with before. But the Golden Nut goes to Eudora Gravegardener. One of the most impactful decks I played or built all year is this mono green legend, turning Green's love of lands into an Aristocrats deck for some new, unique, and unexpected lines of play. This category is a little harder to judge because it encompasses everything released across all of the color combinations this year, and that's a lot. Not to mention that this year gave us the ignoble Hierarchs, fitting into the Jund color identity and giving us a cute exalted goblin mana dork for our decks, or that we got amazing premium removal like Fracture at Uncommon, an instant speed way to deal with artifacts, enchantments, and planeswalkers in the format for just 2 mana. We also got Ink Shield, a card that many people salivated over the moment it was revealed and caused more surprise upsets in the format than we've seen from a single card in a long time. But the Golden Nut goes to Culling Ritual. That's right, this 4-mana sorcery is a board wipe of sorts, and a mana ritual on top of that. In a format where we thrive on mana rocks and mana dorks, and every deck has things that they play that fall under that 2 mana value limit, Culling Ritual can easily ramp you up to 10 mana the turn you cast it. Very good and very underrated. Here's our broadest category, Looking at every multicolor legend that was released this year, not an easy feat to judge, as this year saw legends like Lathril, Blade of the Elves released, one of the strongest options for a Golgari Elves tribal deck, and one that most people snapped up immediately. Or Prosper Tomebound, one body that leans heavy into Red's impulsive draw options and generates tokens with a ton of potential for combos and strong synergies. We also can't forget Essica, God of the Tree, one of the newest contenders as a replacement for Golos, Tireless Pilgrim, at the head of 5 color decks and enabling strategies to flip free permanents into play. But the golden nut goes to Osgir the Reconstructor. This Lorehold, legend opened up a ton of new possibilities for the colors in a deck that's not focused on attacking for once. Leaning heavily into artifact synergies and reanimator strategies, Osgir is a breath of fresh air this year for a stale color combination. This is a contentious category, as lands fit in it as well as artifacts, and between both we saw a lot of great cards printed in 2021. We got the enemy-colored Pathways in Kaldheim this year, providing a cheap and effective option for many decks. And the typed snow duels in the same set, printed at common and fetchable, are another valuable alternative to the gates in budget-minded decks. We got the D&D man lands too, like Lair of the Hydra, which provide a great backup way to get creatures on board in a lot of decks that require bodies. And on that same note, we got Faceless Haven, another man land that functions as a shapeshifter and all creature types, essential in some combo strategies featured here on the channel. And we can't forget artifacts released in 2021 like Nettlecyst, a great living weapon equipment that features as a massive power and toughness boost in decks that go hard on volume of artifacts. And a stellar new 2-mana rockin' Liquimetal Torque, not only being baseline good, but enabling colors like white or red that struggle to remove some permanent types to turn things into artifacts and destroy them. But the golden nut goes to a card that encapsulates the best of both lands and artifacts. It's Treasure Vault. This artifact land may only produce colorless mana, but it can be used late game to pump mana into it to create oodles of treasure tokens. Sneaky ramp on a land that helps synergize with these strategies. Not to mention it can be tutored by anything that looks for non-basic lands or artifacts, making it incredibly versatile. And finally, for our card of the year. As these are my awards, I'm going to skew heavily into my own preferences here. But as I've seen on my socials and my polls running through YouTube, many of you may feel the same way. But the golden nut for card of the year goes to... drumroll please. Academy Manufactor. That's right, this 3-mana 1/3 artifact creature is an all-star of our format already, and has single-handedly driven me, personally, to obsession with making as many of them as I can, as well as enabling all sorts of weird and wacky combos. Even just it on its own plays with so many of the ways to generate treasures, food, and clues that the Manufactor is going to be a mainstay in our format for a good long time. If you want to pick up any of the cards mentioned in today's video, be sure to check out my affiliate Hairy Tarantula and use my promo code CMDRMechanic to help support the channel. And if it's your first time, use CMDR5 to get 5% off your order. What did you think of the winners for 2021? What were your favorites this year? Let me know in the comments below, and as always folks, good luck and have fun.